After spending a few days in this unbelievable bay, we're headed over to Grand Comoros, to the capital of Moroni. Moroni is the capital city of the volcanic Comoros archipelago. It's on the island of Ngajija, better known as the Grand Comoro. The port is small and very shallow, and a lot of the ships are just rafted up right next to each other. The city is located at the foot of Mount Kothala, one of the largest active volcanoes in the world. Taking it very leisurely, very slow. Sail to Grand Comoros. What's happening, Atya?
Taking a little sundowner cruise to Comoros, to Grand Comoros. Very nice and slow, 3 knots. That way we'll get there first light in the morning. But it's lovely.
No rush, eh?
No rush. Going nowhere slowly.
At least we're sailing. Not motoring. This is a very, very peaceful, chilled sail so far. Hopefully it stays that way. I actually don't know where we're going to end up. We're either going to anchor in the harbour or tie up to the harbour wall. Anyway, we'll see how we go.
It's been a really strange experience for me is that it's been 20 odd days, I think around 21 days since we left Mozambique, Lingalinga, and in those 21 days we've been out of contact with civilization. We've had no cell phone signal, no internet, no data, no contact at all with the outside world. World War III could have broken out, we don't know. Monkeypox could be frickin' blowing up like COVID, we don't know. It's been strange, we like just totally disconnected. And it's refreshing, strange and refreshing, you know. And I've got no internet service, I can't do any electronic transfers. I haven't spent a cent in 21 days, there's been no movement on my account. I think Investec's going to think that I'm dead. And yeah, it's a strange experience. But, yeah, so now we're heading back to civilization. And we'll get data and reconnect. But it's been quite a refreshing experience. You know, 3 weeks without being in contact with the real world, or the unreal world, however you want to look at it.
How's the supper?
Supper is delicious.
What have we
Very
got for
nice.
supper tonight?
It's a fish stew. Rice.
It's a one-pot wonder.
Either way, it's delicious.
Beautiful sunset, eh? Quite a few squalls around here. Better keep our wits about us.
At night it'll be even harder.
Well, we've arrived and it's really impressive.
Maybe interesting going to a strange harbour. I don't know. There's no kind of definition of where we can or can't go. So we're just going to have to feel our way through it.
So the harbour is really small. You know, the container ships anchor out and they get barges to come and take the containers and go back into the harbour. So we've decided to anchor outside. So we're just finding a good spot where we can go.
So we anchored off the port of Moroni. There's a port there. So we're outside the port. And here is the sprawling metropolis of Moroni. Since we haven't checked in yet, we're about to hoist our Q flag. Then we're going to go and deal with officials, and hopefully it's a smooth ride.
So we've just had port control, immigration, customs, and health. Come on to
All in one go.
all in one go. Come on to Seascape and came to check all our paperwork and our vaccine papers, vaccine certificates. Customs came onto the boat and checked everywhere, in all the cupboards and in the fridge and everything. But yeah, no, very friendly people and all good. So we're now going ashore to immigration and hopefully get that stamped in our passports, and then we're good to go. This is our gap to get through to tie up. This is dark. Careful, Moy. Can you hold up? Okay.
Why did you switch
Okay.
This is the dinghy mooring. It's very nice.
Ugh. Look up there.
Bonjour. Coming into port. It's not your usual nice and clean port, is it?
The water is very clean. And
The water is very clean. I'm very surprised about that,
Because look at
which
this.
is very cool.
Rain.
And we've got a big wreck down here. A massive wreck down there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Tied on the right. Okay, cool. So let's go to immigration to get our visas, passports stamped, and then go shopping. But this is it. There's the Harbour Master's building. Robin, do you want to get the water now? The bottle of water now?
Yes.
Over there. There's a tap over there. There's a bottle in your bag.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Ah. Ça va? No, come on. Très bien. Nada. We're testing the water here. See if we're able to drink it. I feel like I'm going in the back streets of I don't know where. Yeah. We're going into the immigration office actually. This is it. Bonjour. Ah, immigration office. Bonjour. Here we go. I think I'm going to stop filming now, just in case I get in trouble. Come, go. The historic town centre, the Medina, contains a maze of narrow alleyways and ancient buildings. It's poorly maintained. Just trying to get to a certain weight.
No. After yesterday's hair-raising day. So what happened was we were out on anchor outside the harbour, and we were just sitting around. I think Charlotte was doing some editing and I was doing some work on the computer. It was just after lunch. The trade winds were blowing, and they were like, it started blowing quite hard, about 25-30 knots. Oh, and I wasn't feeling comfortable. I tell you why I wasn't feeling comfortable is that when we dropped anchor, I couldn't put out enough scope. The bottom came up very quickly, so we would have been in very shallow water if we put out scope. So I'd only put out about, I don't know, 3 or 4 times scope, and I normally put out 6 times. Couple that with, there was a lee shore behind us. There was black lava rocks, and that always makes me nervous. I started an aviance track, and while I was working, I had one eye on our track. I'd already taken the ignition key for the motor, and the key for the motor, and I'd put it in the ignition. I'd folded the wheel around. I'd got everything ready. Should something go wrong, that we could react quickly. And sure enough, I look over and I just see the line. We're dragging. I shout to Charlotte, "We're dragging." Sprint up, start the motor. All hands on deck. Our windlass wasn't working, so now I'm motoring, because all I want to do now is stop the boat from drifting onto the rocks. So I'm motoring into the wind, and the wind's blowing. From the side, I'm tracking transits, and I'm just checking, and I'm making sure that we've stopped drifting. And managed to stop the drift. The anchor's still down, and we can't pull it up, because the windlass isn't working. I'm behind the helm, and Charlotte can't pull up the anchor by herself. So after about, it felt like a long time, but it was probably 5 minutes, I started motoring over to this. I was worried that the wind would blow the bow around. Seascape's bow swings very quickly in the wind, even though we had the anchor on, because if we had swung around, I don't think I would have been able to correct it in time before we hit the rocks. That was my biggest concern. So, but after we had stabilized the boat and we weren't drifting, I started edging over, dragging the anchor, edging over, edging over, edging over, and we actually managed to get past the rocks, sort of out the little bay. Actually get outside of it. So looking at the depth, I figured that the anchor, we still got the anchor, 25 meters, 25 kilos of anchor and 35 meters of chain dangling in the water, but the water was deep enough, so I knew I was just pulling the anchor in the water. So we managed to get out in deeper water, pulled the anchor over, and at that point I was happy to hand over to Charlotte on the helm, and I went forward and we got the anchor up and tied it off. And then we called the port and said to them, "Listen, we dragged anchor, and can we come into the port?" And they said, "Yeah." Ended up rafting up next to all those other big ships, and that's where the other fun started. I must just have a shout out about my crew, because, and this isn't the only time, whenever there's been a problem, like a bit of a chaos problem, geez, Charlotte and Moya, they just kick into gear, and everybody just does what they need to do, and there's no drama, there's no snort and trana, as we would say in South Africa. Everyone just does what they need to do, and a big hats off to both Charlotte and Moya. They're the best crew in the world. We moored up next to Baraka here, and they've told us, or Port Authority has told us, that we have to move now. Another ship's going to come where we are, and then we're going to tie up to that ship. So it's going to be interesting. I've got to do a little maneuver this morning.
Morning. I haven't even had my coffee yet. I'm a bit tired. The morning.
Down this morning.
They tied onto the boat.
Yes.
Which means they're not going to move at the time properly. So
So
that's why.
they've probably finished offloading. Now this takes offloading.
Hiding away. So we actually just tied back up to Baraka. We thought we were moving, but we tied on. And there's Daniel. They're helping us out there from Tanzania.
Yeah.
So, Moroni has not been lekka at all. Various reasons. Excuse the noise, but we're in the harbour. There's no safe anchorage outside the harbour. There's coral or it gets too deep. So we've had to come in and tie up to one of the vessels, which continuously shift and move. So we have to constantly be on standby, untie, wait for them to move, come back, tie up again. Seascape is rubbing up against these boats, the mooring lines are getting chafed, it's noisy, it's dirty, it's expensive. You go to the market and the one guy wanted to charge me 55 Rand for 1 kilo of carrots. Anything that we've saved in August, we have now blown in the matter of, 4 days? We checked out today, immigration, stamped the passports. Luckily we had no hassle there. But we got charged €400 port fees and clearance. So that smacked us hard. Suggestion, anyone wanting to visit the Comoros? By boat. Stock up well. Have enough diesel, enough water, enough food, enough alcohol. Because we can't find beers here either. Go and anchor off the islands of Moheli, the marine reserve. Don't even attempt to come here and check it. It's the only way you're going to actually enjoy the Comoros. That's that. Very disappointing. So we bob a lot, don't we?
We bob it.
Why are we bobbing now?
I just wanted to get out of that harbour. And the right winter sail to Tanzania is only coming on Sunday morning. So we just motored out into the sea where there's no ships and no officials and no frickin' all that rubbish. And we're just bobbing here and waiting patiently for the wind to come. So I'm having a beer and I'm watching the Chopo finals.
Okay.
Yeah, WSL.
And please don't forget to catch next week's episode where we have a great sail to Tanzania. Dad hooked some big tuna and we arrive at the amazing Mikindani Bay.